Today on TQA Weekly, I talk about SQL injection. This is the first episode of Season 4 of TQA Weekly. I'm the host. If ever you have any questions, comments, suggestions, and or stories, you can always email me at ask@tqaweekly.com. Go to my website, tqaweekly.com, and use the contact form. Or if you're watching on YouTube, Blit.tv, or anywhere else I post this weekly, you can always put them comments down below. This episode of TQA Weekly is brought to you by ProXPN. ProXPN is a virtual private network that allows you to use the internet the way it should be, anonymously and without oversight. For your 20% off your brand new ProXPN account, go to proxpn.com/podcasts and use the coupon code TQAWEE. How about we get into today's topic, which is all about SQL injection. I have to define what SQL means before I get anywhere. SQL is standard query language, and this is standard for any programming language on the internet that connects to SQL. So the SQL queries themselves are pretty much the same for each of these languages, meaning anybody from any background of language can actually help you out if ever you have any problems with this. So this is an actual problem on the internet. Since SQL is standard, it is vulnerable to SQL injection, which is the modification or manipulation of the code through such things such as cross-site scripting and hijacking of the variables get, post, head, cookie, and request, which are super globals, and basically compromising the security of our website, especially if the website is designed by amateurs, and I'll have a few more details for that at the end. So for those that want to know what is SQL injection, the injection of malicious code for malicious intent into your website, giving, unfavorable reactions such as spilling out the beans of all the passwords, or of course deleting or dropping the tables within the database. How is it achieved? And I'm going to put an example on the screen. Things like standard phrases that we use for SQL queries being modified through the use of variables. Since the entire query can be designed explicitly from variables, it is at all possible for somebody to attack the actual query or to tack a second query to the end of the first query by simply modifying a little bit of the code. So I have an example on the screen. The black part is the actual valid part of the query. The red part is the injected code. In this case, the variable email, it doesn't have an email address. It's actually X single quote, semicolon, update member, set email, steve@unixwiz.net, where email was equal to bob@example.com. The actual correct part of that was select email, password, login, full name from members where email equals. That's the black part. That would have been fine if, of course, somebody were to bother sanitizing the inputs. Now, sanitizing, what does sanitizing mean? Well, it means to actually check your data against parameters to make sure no invalid characters are in it. In the case of email, you can use an email parameter to actually see if the structure is correct. If it's not, I just null the value. From it, therefore, it's as though you didn't enter an email address in the first place. A second way of actually doing this is to validate to make sure there's no invalid characters. We can use preg match. We can use other different types of stuff such as alphanumeric, is it numeric, or any other fields. You can use add slashes, strip slashes, MySQL, real escape strings that will actually null this information, make it safe for your database. And of course, you can also limit the length available to the users if you're not at all comfortable with the length of information, which is why certain websites have a maximum password length, in fact. Although technically, if they were to just validate the characters, it wouldn't be all that bad. You could actually have longer. So yes, the red part is the part of the code which is of malicious intent. So if you were to validate the parameters of and the characters within the string, you could have already detected it was wrong. Here's another possibility. Since most programmers use read-write functionality throughout all the databases, various queries, such as the logging of in, shouldn't actually require being able to read and write to the database. Using read only would have prevented the person from updating the members table, which means they would have never been able to actually tack extra information or replace information in the database in the first place. So those are possible ways of preventing SQL injection. Another way is to use an overgeneralized for each actual set of code that will help you out, which I'm going to put on the website. Actually, it is on the website. I'm going to put on the screen that will help you out. You can replace the get inside this clause with post, request, cookie, and header. Now, why do you want to make sure that you scan for all of them? Well, here's a really cool and nifty thing. Those are variables that are user accessible. Therefore, you want to make sure that the user didn't modify the data with malicious code. Therefore, you want to make sure that it is. Now, when do you know when to use this if you're the programmer? Only when you actually accept code into your queries or into the actual page should you actually have to worry about validating. If you don't have cookies accessing any data on your website, you don't need to validate them since it doesn't change anything for your website since they don't latch onto anything. But if you do accept cookies, you should strongly put these kinds of codes. And you can add other lines of codes to make sure there's no HTML or other information in there. Nobody is messing around with your scripts on your website. Now, how do you know you're dealing with an amateur? Now, obviously, you can have an absolutely amazing website designer. He may be an amateur when it comes to dealing with MySQL databases. How do you know there is a problem? Well, here's 3 ways of knowing. If you have a website created for you and the designer doesn't even bother asking what kind of usable encryption or hashing algorithms are available to your website, unless he already has access to the website. If he knows what he's doing, he can always check for himself. So as promised, I'm going to tell you exactly how to tell if you're dealing with an amateur when it comes to the security of your database. So first one, if they're not asking you about the usable encryption and hashing algorithms available to your website on the server, and if they're too low, not asking you to upgrade to a different service or to a different service level. If they prevent that, if they actually believe that SSL is not required to prevent account hijacking because they already encrypt data at the other end, or if the reverse is actually believed, if they actually believe you don't need to encrypt the data because you already use SSL, fire them. No amount of SSL is going to protect the data inside your database. In fact, we can use SSL to hijack the information in order to get your database out of your website. Therefore, another step must be taken, which is the encryption and hashing of information within your database. Next week, I'll be talking about iterative hashing to prevent hijacking of passwords and of secret answers, because obviously those are also a second type of password available to users on their website, and that is what I'll be talking about next week. And of course, now more than ever, your online freedom and privacy are under threat. Governments and ISPs want to control what you can or cannot see while keeping a detailed record of everything you might do. Plus, that free Wi-Fi at the coffee house or at the airport terminal is putting you at risk because your passwords and sensitive data can be intercepted more easily than you might think. ProXPN is a global VPN that works with almost any internet connection. It creates a secure encrypted tunnel through which all your online data passes back and forth. Any online application can work with ProXPN, including your web browser, email, file sharing, and instant messaging programs. ProXPN keeps everything you do online hidden from prying eyes, disguising your physical location, and giving you unfettered access to any website or online service, no matter where you live or travel to, with complete online privacy with a 2048-bit encryption key and 512-bit encryption tunnel. Works with OpenVPN. Yay, and PPTP, at least it works on all cell phones, protects you from the ISP 6 strikes rule or similar, bypasses internet filtering, blocked websites, geographical restrictions for internet content, and online video with worldwide servers in the US, UK, Asia, and more. ProXPN software works with Windows and Mac, offering advanced controls allowing you to select which programs and ports you want to anonymously route through ProXPN servers, and of course works with your iOS, Android, Windows Mobile, BlackBerry, and of course Android now has a brand new application available in the Google Play Store, which is free. Of course, you have to have an account with them, but here's the thing, they have an amazing 24/7 customer support. All you need to do is to go to proxpn.com/podcast for more information and to sign up. TQA Weekly watchers and listeners will also get a free 30-day risk-free trial. Remember to visit proxpn.com/podcast and sign up with the coupon code TQAWEE. Premium accounts are normally $9.95 a month or $74.95 for the entire year. We have a special offer for you. You'll receive 20% off the lifetime of your account when you use the coupon code TQAWEE. Remember, next week's topic is hash iterations. And if you haven't already done so, subscribe to the show, like it so that I know that you do, and of course, share with those you believe will actually benefit from this show. Have a great day. Goodbye and toodaloo. Thank you for listening to TQA Weekly. Show your support by liking this episode, subscribe to get our latest episodes as they come out, and share with friends and family who may benefit from such a show as this. You may send us your questions, comments, suggestions, and or stories to ask at tqaweekly.com. For our show notes, links to our Android application, alternate means of subscribing to our show, and information on joining our weekly newsletter, head over to tqaweekly.com. Stay safe and online, and have a great day.